You have reached ESPN's UK edition. Stay on current site or go to US version. With Karim Benzema sidelined, Shaka Hislop and Alexis Nunes contemplate whether or not Real Madrid will benefit without him. 2:53 Real Madrid effectively sealed their place in the quarter-finals of the Copa del Rey with a 3-0 defeat of a spirited Numancia in Los Pajaredos that was neither pretty nor unaided by a dose of good fortune after the home side lost captain Adrian Ripa to injury after 20 minutes, and Papa Diamanca to a red card after an hour. Gareth Bale and Isco struck from the spot before Bordamero embellished the score in stoppage time. Numancia should have had a penalty in the first half and were harshly penalized for Real's second after rattling the bar at 1-0 down. Positive Zinedine Zidane can afford himself the luxury of another outing for his fringe players in the Bernabeu after a late double put the tie beyond the Segunda outfit. Bale was again the bright spot and took a couple of robust challenges in stride, suggesting his injury woes are behind him. Lucas Vazquez stepped up in the absence of a coherent team effort and marked the difference. Negative as when fans of a Segunda side are cheering their players with goals at 1-0 down against the European champions, all is not well. Numancia were without several first-teamers themselves and yet a 1-1 draw would have far from flattered the hosts. Manager rating out of 105, Zidane can only work with what he has at his disposal, but on his second anniversary in the Madrid dugout he must now recognize that his summer transfer policy was fatally flawed. His second string are considerably weaker than a year ago and have scored just once from open play in 2 away Copa games against lower division opposition. Player ratings 1 to 10, 10 equals best. Players introduced after 70 minutes get no rating. Kiko Casillas, 6, made a sharp save from Jaime Onara but had little else to do except shepherd a couple of shots around the post. Almost caught out by Inigo Perez in the second half, as he was saved by his crossbar. Dani Carvajal, 6, as active in attack as ever and almost got on the end of a couple of chances in a game he shouldn't have been playing in at all but was included to add some experience to a raw backline in view of his suspension for the Celta match. Nacho, 7, captain of the night, the versatile Nacho did what he does best, adding a cool head to the proceedings and a solid boot to several Numancia crosses. Jesus Vallejo, 6, made a few runs from the back and pressed Numancia when Real were in the opposing half. Composed bringing the ball out, his decision-making is still a little suspect as displayed by a poor back pass at the start of the second half and a yellow for hauling down Diamanca on the break. Theo Hernandez, 4, lucky not to concede the penalty in the first half and lost his running battle with former Barca B man Dani Nieto. Reluctant to get forward and weak defensively, he spent most of the evening on the turf appealing for non-existent free kicks. Marcos Llorente, 5, anchored the midfield but showed a tendency to over-elaborate. Beaten too easily and too often on the back foot, Llorente was caught out in midfield by Perez, who almost bagged a goal of the season contender. Dani Ceballos, 6, struggled to impose himself in the first half but his radar kicked in during the second and he played some excellent balls over the defense while showcasing some deft flicks and touches. Marco Asensio, 7, generally neat and tidy but overran the ball on occasion. Not the decisive player Zidane could rely on earlier in the season but exhibited a few flashes of his undoubted genius, capped by a Rulta in the second half as he probed the Numancia left to good effect. Lucas Vazquez, 8, should have squared on 18 minutes put prodded into the side netting. Alone in his willingness to run at defenders after Gareth Bale departed, Vazquez earned Real's second spot kick with the same quick feet that presented the first in a solid all-around performance. Gareth Bale, 7, quickly saw the profit to be gained by drifting left and right to pull Numancia's back for a round. Buried his penalty coolly enough, sending Emir the wrong way, in a performance that more than hinted of plenty to come if he can remain fit. Bordamero, 5, fluffed a dress rehearsal to put the out-of-form carried Benzema under pressure, missing the sitter from Asensio's first half free kick. Showed good footwork in midfield but a slow heavy touch in the area, epitomized by a poor effort 10 minutes from time. His headed goal with Numancia about and beaten should not detract from an otherwise underwhelming display. Substitutes Ahmet Mateo Kovacic, 7, on for Bale with half an hour to play, added a touch of class and industry to the midfield. Isco, Endar, on for Ceballos, did wonderfully to carve out a chance for himself but blasted over from a few yards out. Immense from the spot with a perfectly placed penalty. Df. Hakimi, Ndar, on for Asensio with the Celta game in mind, added an assist for good measure as he prepares to deputize in Balitos. We use cookies to help make this website better, to improve our services and for advertising purposes. You can learn more about our use of cookies and change your browser settings in order to avoid cookies by clicking here. Otherwise, we'll assume you are okay to continue.